Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Friday for a
Hey!
long holiday weekend. Someone among us is holding hardware.
Oh.
What is up?
The tiniest trophies ever. Boo!
For tiny humans.
Yes, very excited for my boys. After 3 rough seasons as head coach in Little League, we've put it all together for fall ball. This is this one. There we go. This is for winning our division in the. No, it's this one. Sorry, Steve, I screwed up. This is for winning our division.
What time's the show start, guys? When is rehearsal over?
This is for the show, which is the older boys. We won. There's the white and the maroon.
So what are we talking,
division.
like 11, 12?
Those kids are 11 and 12.
Okay.
We won our division title 2 days ago, and then this last night is for my 9-10-year-old team. We won our also the white division. We won our AAA championship.
2 titles in 2 days.
That's right.
Now,
We're combined 11 and 3 between the two teams.
I asked this question
Yeah.
hesitantly.
Yeah.
The white division.
Do we
What do you
got-
guys got going on over there in Rocky River?
Do y'all got the black division?
It's no.
What does that mean?
Y'all doing separate but equal? What we
The
doing here?
Rocky River colors are maroon and white.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
So the other division's
Now,
maroon.
will the maroon division champion play the white division champion for an ultimate
Yeah,
championship?
so by winning our division, we get a bye in the first round of the playoffs.
Very nice.
So then play the winner of the other game in our division first.
Great.
And then if we win, we play the
And
champs potentially.
Correct me if I'm wrong. These teams wear Ultimate Cleveland Sports
Our
show
majors
gear.
team, our majors team does. Yes,
How
we have
about
we have
that?
a patch that says Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Wow.
So
So that's the first team we've ever sponsored, and we're 1 for 1.
That's right.
Now, the regular season.
regular season, we got to win it all.
Good luck.
The-
I like where you're going with this.
In the
though.
majors, the other division winner is undefeated. They're 6-0. We're
that's
4-2. They beat us early in the year, but we were missing 2 of our 4 best players.
So it'll be a showdown. Now,
yeah,
when are those
I'm
games?
excited
Next
about
week?
that. No, we got a couple of weeks because we still
Couple
have,
weeks.
we have Labor Day this weekend, so no
Oh,
games.
yes.
Then the final week of the regular season, then the bye, and then we'll finally play our.
So you guys wrapped it up even before the regular season
That's
is
right.
over.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes.
That's how you want to do things. We've got a busy show.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to talk Browns. We're going to talk a little Cavs. Or is that that's in the 12:30 show on
WKYC show. Yep.
We're going to talk Guardians, but I really want to get this in off the top. I'm sure most Browns fans yesterday heard the news that Jim Donovan is stepping away from his role as play-by-play of the Cleveland Browns. About a couple of months ago, it was earlier this summer, Jimmy retired from WKYC. Now, Mike, your background is local television. I've spent the bulk of my career, about half actually, in local television. What Jimmy did here at KYC, 39 years at one station, is, I don't want to say unprecedented because guys have done that, guys have done longer. It is such an anomaly for anybody to be at one station. We're a nomadic group. We chase dollars. You know, you get bigger offers from different stations, and we move around a lot. Jimmy came here in 1985, immediately entrenched himself in the community. He's a Boston guy. You know, I mean, you would think that his lifelong goal would be to go back to Boston and cover the Celtics and the Red Sox and his teams. But he became a Clevelander. And our joy listening to the games on radio came through his call. And sadly, the Browns games on radio will never be the same. And I say that with no disrespect to whomever it is that follows in Jimmy's footsteps. Wow, what a colossal challenge that will be. Whoever that is, best of luck, and we will ride your wagon just as we rode Jimmy's. But listening to Browns games on radio will never be the same. Jimmy's cancer has returned, and it's returned aggressively. He was first diagnosed with leukemia more than a decade ago. He's beaten it twice. He famously beat it last year. Who can forget the images of him smashing the guitar before one of the Browns home games last year? Really, really difficult time for Browns fans. But our thoughts and prayers are with Jimmy and his incredible wife Cheryl and his daughter Megan, as he's in certainly the biggest fight that he's had so far. So
It's hard to become a legend in a town.
Very.
But even harder to become a legend for two different things. Not only was he a staple on WKYC Channel 3, as you said, forever, where, everybody loved him and watched him, and then, of course, as the Browns play-by-play guy. So to do it in two different venues is about as unique as it gets.
Yeah, he's a special talent. I have worked with some of the best in the business. I've sat next to the biggest names in sports and watched them from the best seat in the house do their thing. A couple of guys that come to mind. I think Chris Fowler is a wildly underrated talent. Chris is in Jimmy's league in that no teleprompter, none. And I would watch him host the Heisman Show, which is a 2-hour behemoth, a lot of heavy lifting. He had a rundown in front of him. That was it. That was Jim Donovan. Jim never used teleprompter, and anyone that ever watched him do a local sportscast upstairs, the first thing they noticed if they were in studio was, where is his script? Right. And I would tell the same thing to everybody. It's right here. He is telling stories that he already knows, like we all do.
Yeah.
But he had a level to it and a gear to it that I've never seen. He is the best, and this is not even close. He is the best local sportscaster I have ever seen, and he is certainly among the best radio play-by-play guys I've ever listened to. So, Jimmy, we are thinking of you. We are praying with you, and best of luck in this most renewed fight.
I remember when I first got into the industry, my first job, I started off answering phones, like in 2011. The first job I got was doing that, and then I was board opping, and then I got elevated to do the Browns game day operations for the Browns radio network, and so my job was just basically in-game producing, which is basically just making sure that Jimmy went to break on time or making sure the commercials played. And I'm like, man, what I'm gonna tell you? He's like, nah, So he always gave me that respect level. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was a no-name gangster, some dude he didn't know. I always appreciated that. During the game he was very courteous. He was very professional. And even though he didn't have to do it, I remember, after the games, he would acknowledge all of the people, from the board ops to the producers to the in-game producers at the end of the show. And I thought that spoke volumes to his professionalism, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to, be that way. There's a lot of people that get to a certain stage in their career and they just, they're above talking or giving that respect to the guys at the bottom of the totem pole. So I always respect him for it. Grew up listening to it in Canton, obviously, in the radio, and just, having that voice be the voice of the Cleveland Browns. And, it's just a shame, because I really wish for him he was able, to call the game when the Browns actually made it to the Super Bowl. And that was one of the things that, for anybody that's getting older, for anybody that put that much work in and the bricks in, I just always hope that they get the payoff. And it's a lot of people, as Browns fans, as we get older and older, it's weird because you start to think of that, because that was always how I envisioned his call for the Browns making it to the Super Bowl. So salute to him. He's in a big fight right now, and we all know cancer touches everybody. Everybody knows somebody that's connected to it. So, prayers to him and his family. And right now, I think that's the most important thing, and we'll be praying hard for him.
Yeah, well said.
And one more thing before we dive into the rest of our actual show today, but I'm not sure you guys saw on Twitter this morning, but the the extremely tragic news of the passing of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew.
Crazy
he's
story.
A star for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Brother was a minor league hockey player. They were supposed to be groomsmen in their sister's wedding this weekend. Were hit, according to the police report, by a drunk driver while they were bicycling in the greater Philadelphia area yesterday.
Not far from where you're from, right? not a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, but that doesn't matter. I mean,
No, I
just,
know,
just
but you know
absolutely
that area.
tragic. I actually know some people that know them, and
It's Jersey kids.
yeah,
They were
like,
supposed to be
yeah.
getting ready for one of the happiest times of their life.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
now
they're
instead
from-
of planning a wedding, they're planning funerals.
And it's just it's heartbreaking. So our thoughts and prayers go out to our brothers and sisters in Columbus too, because that is just a completely unfortunate, tragic, and completely avoidable tragedy that we should not have to talk about this morning.
No, it's awful. And it's another reminder that none of us, here's a guy who's at the prime of his life
31 years old.
and an elite athlete at an elite level. And it's just a reminder, as if we needed one, that our time here is so brief. Treat each other well. Spread kindness and love, not hate and division. And it's just for a minute, guys. That's our window here. And there's no guarantee for tomorrow for anybody. And just, try to live your life that way, and I think the world will be a better place for it. But Jimmy, we love you. Our thoughts are with you, and Cheryl and Megan as you get ready to continue this fight. Okay.
Tough transition into some real sports this morning, but we do have a jam-packed show for you guys. We're going to get to it after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys have heard us talk about it a lot. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and they have something a little different for you guys right now. Starting today through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, we've talked about the Browns' schedule numerous times. This is the last Friday before we are in true game day mode. With how backloaded we know the Browns' schedule is, can they afford to get off to a slow start this season, or they have to hit the ground running week 1 in order to handle the ups and downs of a season, and especially the end of the season where they play a gauntlet, 6 really tough teams in the final 8 weeks of the year?
Guys, I'm not, listen, the season's not over if you lose the first game. I don't want to get carried away. But there's no doubt, thank you, Anthony, there's no doubt that the Browns have to get overall the first quarter of the season off to a good start.
Would you say that's their easiest quarter, Bull?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
I
it is.
go through 5 weeks, which is a little more than a quarter. But,
Right.
I mean, look at that schedule. I mean, that's the easiest stretch of their schedule. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Listen, it's the NFL. Nothing's easy. You are playing 3 road games. But the Commanders have a rookie quarterback. The Jaguars have been kind of shaky outside of the second half of the 22 season. The Raiders are going with, I guess, Gardner Minshew at quarterback. I know he played well against us last year. The Giants stink, and that game's at home. The Cowboys are really the only good team in the first 5 weeks.
When you say the Jags are still a bit of a mystery,
Yeah,
a playoff
yeah.
team 2 years ago, and last year they stubbed their toe late or they were going back.
Yeah, 2 years ago they made a big run at the end of the year. Last year they started off well and then kind of fell apart at the end.
They did, yeah.
So, but they're not a great team. The schedule is manageable. They've got to be, to me, with the toughness of this division, the toughness of this conference, and the toughness of their schedule after that, they've got to be at least 3-2 to start the season, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your target was.
Yeah, I mean, 4-1 would be nice.
I think 4-1 they
Yeah.
win the quarter, because here's the way I break it up: the first 5,
Yeah.
and then 6 through 9 is the second quarter for me.
Yeah.
10 through 13, and then 14 through 17.
Yeah.
Because there's 17, not 16 games.
Yeah.
That's a bear.
Yeah.
That's a bear.
Yep.
So you have to make hay where hay is able to be made.
Yeah.
And they can do it in that first half. I know it's a tall task, but 4-1 is a win. 3-2 to me is a push. Anything less, 2-3,
It's a disaster.
your season's off the rails.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to see where the wins are going to come from.
Yeah, they can't be under 500 after those 5
Absolutely
games. No.
not. G?
I've evolved on this. I don't think that you can look at a schedule and just say that team's good, that team's bad,
That's
that
fair.
team's good.
Yeah, it's going to change year to year from what you expect.
Year to year.
No, but based on what we know, obviously what
Yeah.
we know now.
You would assume that the Commanders won't be as good as some of these other teams, but I've watched games where rookies play well. I've watched games where Mac Jones played well in one of those
To
games.
your point, if Jaden Daniels is the next great quarterback,
Right.
they'll be a
Like-
lot better.
They will be.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud.
And he's got 4 games to figure it out.
That's true.
You know, we talk about the Texans all the time. Last year, people probably was chalking the Texans up as wins.
That's true.
So
We did.
Yeah, we found out otherwise that, hey, those guys can really play. So would you like to get off to a great start? Yeah, you would. Like, you would like to see you get that confidence and momentum and put together long stretches. And, you know, I like to see teams, you know, not lose back-to-back games, right? If you lose a game, can you come back and put 2 together, 2 or 3 wins in a row? That's how you start to stack some money in the bank. I would love for them to come out and do what they need to do against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are a good team. I think the Jaguars are a good team. They started off 9-4 last year, and they look like they have figured it out 2 years in a row. So, you know, for me, I think we're at a point now with the Cleveland Browns where if you want to be considered one of those good teams, and I think a lot of people do consider the Browns have a really good roster and a good team, then every single week you're supposed to go out and expect that you're going to win or be competitive. And that's what playoff teams do and teams with good rosters do. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they started off very, good. But I don't think if they go 3-2 or something, that denotes that the season's off the rails.
No, but wouldn't you think that 2-3 is you can't afford a 2-3?
I wouldn't like a 2-3.
There are some folks that say it will take 12 wins to win this division. And
To win the division, sure. To make
win
the
the division.
playoffs, probably 10.
No, but I'm looking more
Yeah.
at, last year, the goal has always been to make the playoffs, but in reality, that gets you a road game, and in the NFL, that usually gets you a loss. That's what happened to us last year.
Right.
I'm looking at this season as I'm told this is a Super Bowl opportunity. I'm
Right.
told by a lot of people in the know that the roster's there. It's all dependent upon the quarterback. If that's the case, you can't put yourself in a 3-loss hole in the first quarter of the season. Now you lose 3 games the rest of the season, and you're likely not winning the division, and you're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, if they start 2-3, they got almost no chance of winning the division.
It's
The
tough.
playoffs is not. But even I don't think they're going to start 2-3. But what if they do? Well, just to make the playoffs, you probably have to go 8-4 the rest of the way, which certainly will be hard with this.
And that
schedule,
gets you to
so.
10 wins, and I don't
Right.
know that gets you in.
Yeah, probably,
It
but not a
usually
guarantee.
does, but,
not a
the
guarantee.
division this year is just going to be so tight with
Yeah.
Cincinnati back to form, and Baltimore made some big improvements in the offseason, and Lamar has another quality season under his belt. I'm looking at this. I think we all agree on this. This is the toughest division in the entire NFL. So
Yeah.
don't make things difficult for yourself. I always used to equate it to school and grade point average. And if you put yourself in a hole in that first 9 weeks, that first quarter, if you will, you're really making it difficult on yourself because it's like a batting average. It's really, really hard to bring it up, but it's easy to watch it plummet. And so just the way you start has so much to do with success in the NFL. I remember, and I don't know the exact numbers, but the stats that ESPN Metrics used to push about teams that start the season 2-3 make the playoffs 19% of the
Right.
time. And a lot of that, I used to kind of scoff at that, and I'd say, well, 5 games is a decent enough sample size. They're missing the playoffs not necessarily because they started 2-3, but because they're a lousy team.
Right, sure.
So this may be one of those cases where they're not a lousy team, and that 2-3 puts them at such a disadvantage that you're running uphill. And I think what we've seen in the past with the Browns, because they've had to finish so hot late in seasons, that they don't have playoff success because they've actually been playing playoff-type football for 4 or 5 weeks.
I can give you
Into the playoffs.
I can give you a couple examples. A couple years ago, when Ben Roethlisberger was playing, I think the Steelers was 13-1 or something.
They're the
And
last undefeated team
Yeah.
in the league that
they was the
year.
last
They were the most
undefeated-
fraudulent 13-1 team in the history of football.
and we said that all year. We kept saying they're not.
And
that
they got
good.
into the playoffs. They was not playing well, and
Yeah.
they got smoked. They lost to the Browns the last game of the season. They got trounced low key at home during the playoffs, and so. And I've even watched teams, really good teams like the San Francisco 49ers. They lost 3 games in a row. You know, they lose to the Browns, they lost to the Bengals, they lost to the Vikings, and people are looking around like, oh, well, what's going on with the 49ers? I think it's such a long season. There's seasons within the season. Like the season, you know, we start right now, it's August, right? September, we talk about September's the first game. Man, they play till January. Like there's a bunch of games.
You're lucky till February.
Until February.
That's half a year away.
It's a long season. Injuries factor into that. Somebody's main quarterback's going to get hurt.
Always happens.
It always happens. So my thing for me, here's what I wish more than anything. If you say, would you take a fast start or relatively great health? Give me the great health. Because if I got great health, I know I could be in these games and at the end. I know I can ramp up to getting to a certain point. But if you got your quarterback out, your tackles, Myles Garrett is out, Chubb is out, no receivers, the fast start really relatively don't mean that much because you don't have a chance to really make your impact on the playoffs like they did last year. Browns made the playoffs, but by the time they were there, they were banged up. So if you give me 17 games, I'll take that over for a super duper fast start.
The Eagles last year, by the way, another example of that, G.
What's that?
The Eagles last year were another example of super
Started
hot,
white hot.
9-1, I believe they were.
And then couldn't figure out how to tackle.
Just-
They fell apart as much as any team I can remember in recent memory.
Those are extreme examples. I mean, the Chiefs weren't playing great football.
No, they weren't.
And they got it together for the playoffs. I think the Browns, I don't even know if it was, I mean, they were winning even with the injuries. I mean, most of the Browns' key injuries happened earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But
it was amazing. When they had the most adversity, they played their best football.
Right. Yeah. So obviously health is important. The Browns on offense especially were very unlucky when it comes to injuries. And, you know, there's really very little you can control in that vein. But, certainly health is most important. But, G, you make a great point. Based on what we know now, the Commanders are not that good. The Raiders are not that good. The Giants are not that good. But every year, there's teams we expect to be good that are not. There's teams we don't expect to be good that are.
Every year.
You never know. Yeah. So playing the schedule game is tricky.
I did an exercise with some buddies about a week ago. If you could put the schedule back up. Sorry, Steve, that I got to it that late. But I asked them to rank the games in order of toughness. And we all agreed the first game is the toughest. The next game is easier. The next game is easier yet. The next game is easier yet. And the Commanders could be the easiest of all. And that's an interesting way to start the season because when you turn the page from that, you are smacked right in the face with playoff team after playoff team after playoff team.
I personally think, I agree with you through week 4. I actually think
that's the one we discussed. The Giants
I think
and
the
Commanders
are better than the Giants, and I think they're better than the Raiders too.
I don't.
As long as
really?
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is pretty good, and
the Raiders to me,
I like Washington.
The Raiders to me, the reason is not really it's on the road. They got Max Crosby.
Yeah.
They got a good defense. They got some guys like Devontae Adams and Gardner Minshew just plays well against the Browns. And the Raiders overall have traditionally played well against the Browns too.
Devontae Adams does not want to be there. I wonder how much of a role that plays.
I don't
That'll be
blame him
interesting.
at all.
Well, that's a good lead up to our next topic, guys. I got to get a quick word in from eBay, then I'll set it up for you. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has it covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some big-time wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Coming up later when we talk about the Guardians, the Kansas City Royals had 2 injuries yesterday.
Yes.
And one of the 2 guys that got hurt is going to be missed the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That's a huge loss for them. We'll talk to you about it later.
And I hate celebrating injuries because
but
we've had them and we know how much they suck. But from the Guardians' perspective, their path to the division title did get a little easier
It did.
yesterday because of what you just talked about. Yeah,
And we'll
for
get
sure.
to the Guardians here in a little bit. Guys, I saw this on Twitter yesterday. Made me think it was worth at least posing the question to you guys. What players on this Brown roster heading into 2024 are more valuable to Cleveland than they would be if they were on the open market?
I had a hard time with this, by the way. I don't know about you guys.
It's actually easy.
Yeah,
Wow, there was one that was very easy.
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now-
but after that, I could make a case for. I think another guy that you might bring up is Deshaun Watson.
That's it. That's the obvious choice.
And,
okay.
But what's interesting to me about that is, because that's what I said too. I said, well, start at Chubb. He is the easy one, the no-brainer. You could throw Myles Garrett in there now because the contract that he signed at the time is a bargain now. If he were to hit the open market tomorrow, his number would be way bigger, and we get him for less. So I think he's a bargain for us now.
Right.
But the Deshaun Watson thing was interesting to me because I said, we just gave this man a $44 million bonus.
Right. Yeah.
And so that is incredibly
I mean, he was going to get that
punitive.
money anyway.
He was
but-
going to get it
yeah.
anyway. And by the way, it was a brilliant move by the Browns
Yeah.
to
Masterful.
circumvent the cap
Masterful.
punishment. It was brilliant. I mean, they're putting on a master class in how to make the cap completely irrelevant.
They are the only thing now, and Jimmy at this point, he doesn't seem to care.
Doesn't seem to.
So if the
be
owner
bothered by
doesn't
it.
care about continuing to kick the can down the road, it probably won't matter. The
Right.
only way this is going to matter is if Deshaun Watson doesn't play well again.
You're right.
And they have to start thinking about another quarterback. Then it will become a disaster. If Watson gets back on track and plays well, this is never really going to matter.
It's not an issue if he plays well.
I tried to tell people for I don't know how many years. They'd say you're crazy. It's the boy who cried wolf. I said this cap is imaginary.
It's not. It's only imaginary if the owner's willing to do what Jimmy's doing.
And
he may be
seems
the
to
only owner in the league that does
Bull,
it.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
he is the only
No,
one.
Philadelphia does too. Philadelphia
Not to
does
this
too.
extent. I mean, they do it, but it's stunning the
I mean,
amount
he
of money
just-
this man is paid.
I give him credit.
And what he's gotten on that
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah.
And then flip that to the Guardians, by the way, which
Right.
are the cheapest team
Right.
and have gotten all kinds of return on their dollars.
I'd be willing to, like, people talk about it from a standpoint of being the worst trade. Let me just take a look at how, even if you think Deshaun Watson hasn't played well, how they've mitigated this situation.
That's not an opinion, by the way. He hasn't played well.
I mean, he hasn't played well enough.
No, if you're going to take his body of work so far and say very well, average, below average, total dumpster fire, he's below average.
I mean, below average. You can say below average, but I will say
At
this.
best, you could argue average. I would agree with below.
I can't put him average yet. I couldn't.
Here's the, and I've always talked about it. We talk about people overestimating the Ravens game. I think 11 games is the most overestimated amount of games
That's
I've
all we
ever
have,
seen.
though. G.
But I'm just
We
saying.
can only judge it based on what's
No,
happened
that's
so
it.
far.
But 11 games. I go back to it. No one has even given me a rebuttal about this. Like the rebuttal is, hey, well, we didn't have expectations for them. But if you look at every single quarterback that has been here, Colt McCoy, Brandon Wheaton, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Brian Hoyer, all of those people have played more games than Deshaun Watson. All of them.
But what does that mean?
No, I know, but that's all we have.
No, what I'm saying though is, when we talk about sample size, right?
Yeah.
Like I know that's all we have, but that doesn't mean you can make an informed decision based on everything that you have.
No,
right
but
now.
it's the only decision we can make. We don't have anything else.
I don't think anybody's saying it's over. We're saying it's
No.
not been good so far.
We have to be clear that
If
to
we were
this
saying
point,
if we were saying it's over, then it's fair to say that's not fair. It's only 11 games.
Sure.
We're saying what we've seen from him so far has not been close to good enough, and there's nothing unfair about that.
I mean,
and those quarterbacks, to me, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
I do.
Those guys, none of those guys had ever. Those guys were all rookies when they came here.
No. But
Deshaun Watson was a proven star, and he's been nothing here.
But no, Brian Hoyer was not a rookie.
well, nobody had expectations for Brian Hoyer like this.
That's the thing is the expectations. You can have expectations for people, right?
Yeah.
But
They come with the paycheck.
those expectations come with your insecurities too.
I don't. But what?
It's put it to you like this.
Yeah.
If you played 11 games and he's played 11 games and you look at his record and you look at what the Cleveland Browns have done,
Yeah.
They have mitigated the whole draft choice thing. The Browns have the best roster they've ever had, and they didn't have draft picks. You look at the cap. People say it's the worst contract in history. The worst contract in history, and it still has not stopped them from getting any free agent that they want.
Correct. It doesn't mean that to this point it's been bad. Just because they've been able to mitigate doesn't mean it's been bad. And had they not made the trade in theory, or they had gotten another quarterback, or whatever they had done, maybe they'd be in even better shape than they are now.
Well,
maybe they would have won a playoff game.
Well,
we can't laud them for being so great when they haven't won a playoff game.
Well, here's the thing. We can laud them for making the playoffs without a quarterback. We can give them credit for making playoffs with backups off the street, can't we?
Yeah, no, but gee,
Sure.
I agree with that. We can, but
To a
I also
degree.
I won't go so far as to say we can cut him a little slack because the Browns have overachieved in the absence of the assets they gave up to get him.
No. I'm not saying cut him no slack. What I'm saying is I think when you talk about the totality of how well he has played or how bad he has played, I think that we've moved so far to polar opposites where some people believe that, oh my goodness, he was balling. He was killing the game before he left. And then some people got him playing worse than Johnny Manziel in their mind. I don't think it's like that. I think it's been a little underwhelming, but to
Little?
Yeah, a little.
I think
Come on,
that's
G.
way off the mark.
what do you
G.
mean?
We expected him to be a superstar.
Gee,
You
it's
said he was
been
going to throw
massively-
5,000 yards.
So here, let me, and I thought Tyvus did a great job at asking this question, and I don't think people answered it. He said, when you look at his game, and you say, what makes you feel like in his game, pinpoint why when you watch him, you believe that he's been terrible? What specific circumstance are you getting to that says this is the reason why right here on this film work right here that he's played terrible?
He hasn't been accurate. His decision making has been suspect. I don't think he plays with confidence anymore.
Those are both true.
And
Those are
by
all
the way,
true.
on the confidence thing,
Yeah.
when you're listing assets that quarterbacks need to be successful, it's often overlooked. Confidence is it. It's the same thing in what we do. I learned early on in this business, those without confidence are in a different profession before long. Quarterback is it is the most alpha position in sports. You've got to be cocky. You've got to be confident. And quite frankly, I think, and the reason I'm holding out hope that he's going to return is because you can get that back. Why I wanted him to play a little in the preseason. He's got to get it back now against the Dallas Cowboys. But to me, the assets that he needs, decision making, accuracy.
His accuracy hasn't been close to what it was in Houston.
Terrible.
His touchdown to interception ratio is not particularly good. I mean, come on, G. We expected him to be great. You're making it seem like we're out to get him, or I don't know what it is, but you know we expected him to be great. Come on.
Listen, but what I'm saying to you is, you can expect somebody to be great, but you also have to take in consideration the extenuating circumstances. He didn't play for a year. When he came back and played, he couldn't practice.
That was his fault.
Listen,
that was his choice.
But at the end, I'm telling you what the reason is for. I'm telling you what the reason is.
But all I'm saying,
and
I didn't make excuses for Baker Mayfield, ever.
Baker Mayfield.
Never. I didn't make excuses for
Baker
him.
Mayfield was here 5 years. You've seen him
Okay.
11 games. How do you
But why- I don't understand.
there is no person that can pinpoint.
I think he was here 4 years.
He was here 4 years,
He-
and I wanted him out.
Over
So why-
50-something games.
You're arguing with me as if I was supporting Baker Mayfield and thought he should stay here.
What I'm saying
I don't
is,
know what the point is.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
you saw sample sizes of 50-some-odd games before you made a decision on those guys. I'm saying it's foolhardy to make a decision.
Who's made a decision?
No, we're not, G.
Who's made a decision?
Some people. I'm not saying you specifically.
I don't care what some
yeah, but
random
G,
people on Twitter do.
but-
You're arguing
yeah,
as if I'm saying.
But
Well,
we're
in
talking
fairness,
to
we
the
are.
community.
We are, because that's all we have.
but I'm not
listen,
saying-
if he played unbelievable in those 11 games,
Right.
I also would be sitting here going,
Of
this
course.
guy's worth it. Now,
Of
the
course.
counter to that might be, hey, man, he's only played 11 games. The bottom could fall out any day now.
Well,
both are true.
But the difference would have been he played great in Houston. So
Right,
if he'd only played great for 11 games here, we'd totally be in it.
We've got to wrap this because our guest
Yeah.
is here. But I think here's the way I answered it, and maybe it might change your mind. The question was, which players on the Browns are more valuable to Cleveland than anyone else? The reason there's just no way I can put Deshaun in that category is because I did it based on money. That's the way I read the question, because value. So if Myles Garrett were to hit the open market today, how many offers would he receive that are more than his current paycheck? 31.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with Nick Chubb, 28. With Deshaun Watson, if he were to hit the open market today and this contract was to evaporate, he'd be playing on a prove-it deal. And I really believe that.
But also,
because he's in the prove-it stage.
I wasn't thinking of this question.
But on the flip side of it, if Deshaun Watson comes out and plays near what he was playing before, he's the one person that can change the whole shape of the franchise.
Chief, with that I will completely concur.
Nobody disagrees with
that.
Yes,
if he becomes Houston Deshaun, then yes, you can put him in this category.
My only beef is that feels like you're arguing with me or Jay as if we're those fans on Twitter saying Deshaun Watson's career is over. Nobody here is saying that.
No.
I'm just saying what we've seen so far has been not close to good enough.
Right.
I expect a lot
Which, again, to go back to the preseason, which is why I was a little surprised that we didn't get to see a little of him in the preseason.
Too late
because
now.
the live bullets start firing on September 8th with a very good football team and a terrific defense. And that's a tough learning curve.
I think our next guest saw a lot of these same arguments with a lot of other people from the past, right?
Yeah, let me do a read, and we're going to bring in John Big Dawg Thompson. Guys, if you ever need an energy boost, 5 Hour Energy is now a proud sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. If you're trying to tackle a to-do list, 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast, whether you have a long list to do for work or a list of do-it-yourself projects to tackle at home. Take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you can check off everything on your list. If you're like me, you always have a large list of projects for the home and home improvement, and when you get your supplies for the project, do not forget the most essential supply, which is that 5 Hour Energy shot. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and there's even a flavor for everyone. Try them all, and you can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. Customize it to what you want, when you want. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONFB to receive 20% off your order. The offer only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders either. So go to 5hourenergy.com today and get your day started on the right foot. And with that, let's welcome in John Big Dawg Thompson to the show, a Browns legend.
There's the mask.
Everybody knows that mask on TV all the time.
You know, I'll ask you at what point this character and persona was developed. In my mind, it was there in 87.
1985, actually.
Okay, so it goes back even further than I remember.
Yeah, it's basically the way it all happened. The mask is Lakeland Community College when the Browns, they used to have their summer camps out there, and he had the little rope with maybe 150, 200 people at the time.
That was it.
Now it's
I
thousands.
was at many of those.
Yeah.
But it was the Saturday before the first preseason game of that season. Bernie's first year on the team, and then Danielson and Don Rogers' first year on the team, and the guys did a poster down at City Hall, the DBs, and they had like a
It was a
dog.
no parking zone, right?
No, it was right on the steps of City Hall, and they had all had different dogs. A pit bull,
yes, I remember that
there were
one.
4, and they wore cummerbunds, different colors. And
Oh,
it,
my.
And it was like the dog's DOG.
It's been 40
It
years.
was like,
Right.
So it was like kind of incredible. But needless to say, I was watching college football. I believe it was Ohio State the day before that first game, and we were at a local pub at Camp's Corners, and there was a costume shop that opened up, and we had parked in front of it. Didn't know that it was its grand opening until we came out. They had one of those big arrow signs, and come on in. So we went in there, and I'm looking around, and I see this dog mask, and I started laughing. My buddy, I asked the lady, "Hey, how much is that mask?" And she pulls it down. It's like $10.
Wow.
So
it's the best 10 bucks
Yeah,
you've ever spent.
my buddies had no idea what I was up to, So, and I just brought it to the game. I wasn't wearing it to the game.
And this is the original?
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm about
Actually.
to say, you get the credit for that.
And that's crazy. This is probably, I think it's like the 9th mask that I had, and one in between. So I had 2 of the original. One was stolen, and back in the day, MMS, Jeff and Flash had Mr. Leonard chasing around. There was a $1,500
Did they ever
reward.
did they
Never
ever
found it. Never found it. It's
So
crazy.
somewhere your original mask is
Right.
still
So where do you get them now?
The Tampa Browns backers were, and they had brought me down there a few times, and some kid was playing in the yard, and somebody seen him playing, and he had the same mask. and they lost it, and they went and bought it from the kid for $50. Sent it to me. It was crazy. So I had
That's
to
nuts.
But in between, I had a guy that made masks, and he made one that was not quite the same. So there are photos, if you go back in time, it's kind of a rugged mask. It was, it was pretty rough, but he did get it for me.
Now,
and
was that your seat? I mean, you were always in that seat, or
no, not at all. I was a season ticket holder since '78, but my seat's in the other end zone in '78. I used to have upper deck box seat, and actually I sat with my buddies in '17, moved to '16 because there was an open seat down below,
God,
and I
I
had a
remember
pole
those
in front of me,
sections.
drove me nuts. I couldn't handle it, so there was a single seat, so I went and got it. And then in '80, I remember my mom, she pushed for me to do something. I had another outfit that I wore. It was a brownie elf, believe it or not.
Right.
It's in some videos. It's pretty funny, but with a gold Browns sign. So I was up above the dugout, the Browns dugout, like coming in where their locker room
That was you.
Yes, that was in 1980.
Because I remember
had a
that,
gold
but I
Browns.
never knew that was you.
Yeah, and then I
Same
took
guy?
that flag. So I got married in '84. So I had to get it. I couldn't. There was only that one seat, so I couldn't. My wife, I met her in New York, brought her here, transformed her. Actually, the first year,
Good man.
I had to deal with the Jets and the Browns game, in '86. So I had to deal with that.
Oh my God.
But it was great. So we it just I went down there on seat day. They used to offer seat day.
Yeah.
So they brought us out to the
To that corner seat.
to the bleachers.
Yeah.
And I'm like walking down the ramp, and my wife, I'm like, wow, it's like we're walking. I had never sat out there for football. Baseball, like outside the fireworks zone, I used to have to
Yeah,
sit.
yeah.
So I'm
But
like,
you couldn't get that low for baseball.
no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was, so I'm like walking out there, and it's like we got down to the front fence, where they let the bands and everybody on. I never paid attention. You're on the field.
You changed your name legally to
I
Big
did.
Dawg. When did you do that?
I want to say about 1987. Maybe?
So it says on your driver's license, John Big Dawg Thompson.
No, it's just with the county, I was able to go and change my middle. I actually changed it John Big Dawg Thompson, and that basically the reason why I did it is to basically kind of almost copyright it.
Yeah.
It's not really copyright, but it proves that.
Yeah, you're the
That
original.
if
I
you
like
want
that
if you want to
marketing.
use that image.
What did the person say
yeah.
when you went down there?
Oh, so-
Because if it wasn't a sports
Well,
fan,
they had to know you.
Well,
Everybody
so-
knows you in
Well,
Cleveland.
the best part,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a great question because, so we go downstairs at the old courthouse,
Yeah.
that's where you have to go do this. I got my attorney with me going to see this, and it's not a judge, it was a magistrate, so we're going to magistrate's office, and we're sitting there, doors open, and we're in the basement of the old courthouse, and people are walking by and stuff, and we're sitting in there, and I got my attorney said, yeah, dress up. You want to go down there dressed up? Like, all right. So I go and
wait, dressed up in your.
You should have
outfit.
dressed
just
up like that.
Yeah, just like I am
Oh,
now.
yeah.
okay, yeah. I
I think I dressed up in a suit.
No,
hell no,
he
man,
said,
don't
oh yeah,
like
wear
that.
this. He said.
Yeah,
So needless.
this is awesome.
So we go in there, and it was like all of a sudden there's this big guy comes cruising by, and he's like, stop, right in the door. Big Dawg. And the magistrate says, okay, this is cool. That's enough. We got to know, to confirm. So you have to actually have a reason. You can't just change your
Oh,
name.
really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
there has to be some kind of a
I
legal.
never knew
Yeah, who knew that?
There is a legal thing to
Okay.
it. So the cost to do that was pretty cheap compared to going, and having to get an actual copyright
Yeah.
cost thousands of dollars
Sure,
at the time.
sure.
I didn't have the money, so.
So do you you and the other super fans? Do you guys get together? Do we have battle royales? Is there fighting? I mean, like, what is happening?
Well, you won
So
fan
in the
of
Browns,
year.
in the
You won-
dog pound, you mean? Oh.
or in general.
In the dog
In
pound,
yeah.
actually, there was
Is there a
competition.
hierarchy? Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
have a top 5? Like, these are the super fans, and it's an elite club to get in.
Yeah,
Well-
and are you would be on the board of approving new super fans?
Like,
I would
you've
think.
been, correct me if I'm wrong, an NFL Super Fan of the Year, right?
Actually, NFL, I was inducted into the Hall of
Hall of Fame,
Fans, the
okay.
Visa Hall of Fans
that's
in
awesome.
and we're talking
1999,
like,
the first
firefighter,
class.
the Jets firefighter.
So me,
Fireman Ed.
Fireman Ed,
Ed, yeah.
the Hogettes, Mikey T,
Right.
the Barrel Man, and
Yes.
there's so many guys, that I actually got to, it was kind of cool. We all
Yeah.
met, and so then we started doing the Hall of Fame parade for years. We won a quite a few times the #1 float in the parade. And,
That's awesome.
and I was blessed prior to that, like while the team was gone, I got involved a lot and testified in front of
Did
Congress.
you just hibernate for
and
3 years? Like, what the hell did you
No,
do?
I was, me and Eddie Johnson and a number of the players.
I think Brian Sipe was in.
Well,
involved,
Brian
wasn't
and
Doug Deacon was involved.
listen, Jerry Shirk.
Yeah, Jerry Shirk.
They did a bus trip from California and came back for the final play, they called it, at the
Yes.
stadium.
Yes.
That we did the thing with the auctioning everything off,
Yeah.
and drew like more fans in those 2 days than a number of the stadiums around the league, for their games, because we didn't have a game. But so those 3 years, me and Eddie, basically, they did a poster. There was a poster of me and a poster of the Hall of Famers, and we actually sold them for the Save Our Browns to help, promote money to help fight the whole cause and blah blah blah. And so we traveled to all the Ohio county fairs. Me and Eddie
All
Johnson.
88 of them?
Huh? Oh, there must have been we missed a few, I'm
Okay.
sure, but a lot. I mean, we were
Wow.
everywhere. We were from like Lime all the way. I mean, we were everywhere.
We got to ask you. Now, you've been around a while. What's your opinion on the stadium? Go.
I'm a diehard Clevelander.
He doesn't want dome football.
Born in I don't mind dome football
Blasphemous!
Listen, he's on
want a dome.
if it's in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
You want it
If it's in Cleveland.
You want it on
Yeah,
the shore.
they need to figure
That's
out
the
a way to do it
compromise,
here.
right?
Well, they
Get
need
it-
to figure
yeah.
out a way to do it. I mean, for years,
I'm surprised. I thought you were Mr.
I'm getting
Outdoors.
old. Jay, I'm 60. I finally got my new 2 knees.
They got to keep them
I couldn't even make it to the stadium.
How many games have you been to? Do you have any idea? Like, when
God.
was the last time you missed a game?
Well, quite a few I've missed in the last probably. I retired the Image in 2012.
Wow.
And since then, my daughters have gone. And then I had the knee issues. Yeah. I'd lost a bunch of weight. Was playing hockey. I was down to 185 pounds. I was like flying around.
Whoa.
It was pretty nuts. But then I gained a little.
Daughters don't wear the mask.
No.
Okay.
But they are diehards.
Have you thought about like tapping another fan and carrying on the tradition? Like just giving
that
them-
one. I mean, that's never been. Yeah,
discussed?
I mean I don't have a problem with that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I mean, that'd be something the Browns would have to deal with. That would be. They'd want the image.
Sure.
They could. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be negative
Well, I mean,
to
it's
that.
your outfit.
If that's what
It's
they
your
want to
book.
do to promote football, but hey, I mean.
Right.
If the Browns,
I'm into promoting football. That's the Browns. I mean, that's my whole life. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I mean, I remember prior to season tickets, we used to go in through Gate A up the the TV cables. We used to climb the cables to the bathroom. That was the way you sneak in.
that's
until I
That's a
finally
fan right
until
there.
I put enough on that I got caught in the window. True story. And the police came in because we used to go in and run through, but the police actually caught me. I was stuck in, the old windows used to open like weirdo windows.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they
weird.
opened like
yeah,
weird.
they were really weird.
Well, I got stuck in that
How
window.
high were you climbing?
Well, I don't know. It was probably 30 feet.
Oh, it had to be
How-
more
it's
than that.
about. It's not too much. It's about 30. Second floor, I think it was, or something.
I'm curious to see if your favorite game at the old stadium is mine. Mine went to 2 overtimes.
That's it. My wife. And
Yeah.
The Jets definitely by
That
far.
game was. I still have
Pandemonium,
that game on VHS.
Pandemonium Palace, absolutely. And,
And-
and you know what? Before we go any further, I just, Jimmy,
Thank you.
God bless him. I
Yes,
mean,
thank you.
I was lucky enough to meet him first time when Nev was still doing games. Like not the first time, but we had a good night out in Denver for the second championship out there in
yeah.
'89,
That
which
was the
was
fumble.
incredible. Yeah. And that was actually the rubber band game when Bernie had the rubber band on his finger.
Oh! I thought
The
you were.
second time. It was
Yeah,
a sort of
yeah,
third
yeah.
game.
Second
but
time, third game, right. I thought you meant
so
second.
second time in Denver. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I got it. Yeah.
Have the Browns
But,
treated you well?
The Browns have been outstanding to me my whole life. I mean, so different people with the organization. In the new organization, I've really never met any. I have never met the Haslams. And,
Really?
Yeah, and I'm happy that they're building a team. I'm excited that I think we're getting close to, winning, and I believe that. I honestly believe it. I'm like psyched up as ever.
But didn't you
I'm
say
a
that
huge,
every year?
I do,
Because I
but
do.
I was psyched up when Belichick, and that was unfortunately a bad situation. I mean, I loved Bill Belichick, and that team that he built, I thought he was on the right, and it was. I mean,
I did too.
The team ended up winning,
Yeah.
but in reality, and that was the last thing. One of the last things he asked me, what did you think of the team I built? When he left, and I said incredible. I said, I thought it was fantastic, and the only unfortunate thing there was his problem with the media. I mean, that was the killer, and it was a major player in what happened in the end. I think because it made everything negative.
I've heard others that said that too.
Absolutely,
That
there's
definitely
no doubt.
played a role. In fact,
major role because the fans. I mean, I used to remember in '94. After the games, I used to sell to the Browns, so I got to know a lot of the people. I sold them the ribbons for printing the tickets.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
For years,
Yeah.
So I got to know the people that did the. They used to print out every game. They had the game stats for the media. They give out at the end of the game, and it was like on legal paper about that long, stapled, about that thick. I have a million of them still. I love them.
Too.
But I can go back to the games and look at them. But the copy room was down on the first floor, so like when I'd be coming out I'd walk across and walk under, and that's right where the interview. I don't remember where the interview room used to be. It was
the catacombs.
And all it was just plywood that was put up painted orange because they didn't have room anywhere else. They had to get the people out of the locker room, and they had a platform back there, and they did the post-game interviews.
Very primitive by today's standards.
Bill, naturally, the coaches had it was mandatory to do the post-game interviews via the league. And when that was happening, it was terrible. I mean, I was frustrated. I was couple of sports writers, one in town, one out of town a little bit. They were buddies. They had a show together. Say no names, but everybody knows.
Everybody knows who you're talking about.
But they were so critical, and it was ridiculous. There were 10,000 people after every game under there chanting "Bill must go," and we were in first place.
Yeah.
In '94, it was ridiculous. This year that we beat New England in the game here, he gave the game ball to all the fans, because we were loud. It was great.
The Bernie thing,
he beat Bill.
Thing was
It was the killer.
his undoing.
It was the killer.
And it wasn't just the decision to do it, because in retrospect, you can make a case that Bill was right.
Well, I'm not going to debate that. I wouldn't debate that for a minute. But I love Bernie. I've known him forever.
I love Bernie too.
But I love Bill too, and I still believe that at that time, I mean, I don't think it was going to be a difference if Bernie Kosar was quarterback. Because I'll tell you
he was not hurting the team.
I remember, and people forget all this stuff. It kills me. Like in the games, the telestrators, the announcers would be drawn. Bernie all of a sudden changed the way he got down behind center.
He put his right foot back.
He opened his stance was opened up. And
they lost their minds.
Well, we went to, I remember traveling down the road to Indianapolis to a game. I'll never forget it, Chip Banks. I don't know how many sacked him, like 7 or 9 times in one game. They sacked Bernie 11 times.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was the same game that, and we won that. We actually won the game, I think, that game, if I'm not mistaken. And it might have been the same game that the running back, their running back from the Rams, Dickerson. Yes. Eric Dickerson broke Jim Brown's I think it was a yard record.
That game.
And we booed him. There was more Browns fans there than
which isn't uncommon.
No, some of those games. So we were booing him, and not until the day that the night before he went into the Hall of Fame, I was lucky enough to get to go down. I was down at the Hall of Fame with the fans, and they had a party back for Ozzie because it was the same year, 1998, I want to say, maybe Ozzie went in. And Eric, I believe it might have been 98.
Yeah, sounds right.
So we got invited back to the Cleveland Athletic Club where they had a party for Eric and Ozzie. So we came back, and I was talking to Eric. He was all ticked off. I was talking to him about, being there, when he broke Jim Brown's record, and because I'm a huge Jim Brown fan, so it was like when he broke Jim Brown's record, I was like, I told him, I said, I was amazed at how we were all booing you, and it was like louder than, and he's like, what are you talking about?
Well, didn't hear it.
He never knew that it was the Browns fans.
Oh, he thought it was Colts fans.
ticked off. He said, "I've been ticked off forever," thinking that it was the Indianapolis fans. He thought they were booing him.
Wow.
So he was just thinking as a football fan. He wasn't thinking
Right. No, that's
Browns or Indianapolis. So when I thought that he was
it's interesting. I mean,
incredible.
when Roger Maris broke Babe Ruth's record, Yankee fans booed him.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, but he actually thought that it was
funny.
The Indianapolis. He had no idea.
Well, listen, thanks for coming in and sharing your stories.
doubt.
Great story.
We could probably spend days talking to you about all that you've
40
seen.
years
and
this
been-
year, by the way, just so everybody
40
knows.
years.
Yeah,
Wow.
the dog pound
Well,
is
congratulations.
40
both
years.
Hopefully they win you a Super Bowl here soon.
40 years on ours too. So it's like the year I got married. It's the year. It's kind of crazy.
nice.
Yeah. So it's
well,
kind of.
let's
So
celebrate
needless
with
to
the
say,
World-
well,
with
we're
the
going
Super
with the
Bowl.
big guys.
Yeah.
I'll take care of the other one.
She's not rooting for the Jets anymore, right?
And I
Oh yeah, so the Jets game. That's she here is in the Illyria Chronicle telegram, and I'm sure it can be found. She's like on the old blue fence.
crying. Oh,
It's,
really?
like, it's a great picture. We have the paper.
Well,
she switched.
if they do get to a Super Bowl, I'm certain that you'll be there.
You got to come out of retirement.
The NFL, if nothing, will
yeah,
get you there
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're iconic and you go hand in hand with the Browns. And thanks for coming in.
Oh, no
to share
doubt.
some of
No
your
doubt.
stories.
It's just an honor. And I seen your show the last time. Just a real quick one is so the cup. I still have the cup. The most tortured fans in
You were there that day.
We
came in. ESPN ran a series.
Yeah.
I think it was my first or second year with
Yeah,
Cold
you
Pizza.
were. Yeah.
They ran a series that was wildly popular. I couldn't believe how millions of votes. Most tortured sports city. And we did deep dive documentary style profiles on the top 10 that were voted on by a staff of ESPN writers and broadcasters. And Cleveland won as the most tortured sports city. So we brought the show to Cleveland to do live from the stadium.
Who was
We
even in
actually did it from
contention?
Jacobs Field.
It
if
was
you
at
remember.
Jacobs Field. Seattle, I think, was in the running. Philadelphia was in the running.
Detroit, I think, was in it.
This was before the championships in somewhat recent years. For Philly
Yes,
and
this
Seattle,
would have been like 2004.
Right before the
2000.
basketball. It was before the basketball championship. But
Yeah.
we don't
I
have
mean-
nothing else. We still don't have any more championships.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
No, we don't. And I think Seattle was second, but the number of votes that we received for that, it was wildly popular. And we came in and we had all of the icons in Cleveland sports fandom
Myself,
history.
John Adams came in.
John Adams was there.
And then we had
the Bone Lady was there. I have a picture of all of us.
Tony Schaefer from Sandusky. He was there, with
He
the
had the
help
van,
the Cavs.
didn't he, or
Well, he was a Browns fan a long time, but he was also a season ticket holder for the Cavs for
okay,
years.
yeah. Well, a lot of great
But,
memories, John. Hopefully, we get you a Super Bowl.
good
I
stuff,
mean, we all
yeah.
want one, but
Appreciate you coming
It'd
in.
be
know-
great.
I know it'd
So as much as I want it, I want to see it for, because I've had so much fun. I'm probably the luckiest fan in any sports history. I've met so
Wow.
many people, been so many places, and I could go on for years telling you.
but you want to see it
But,
for
but I want to see it for like my kids and all those kids, Browns fans that
have never seen a winning
Yeah.
Browns team. Yeah,
that means a lot to me.
yeah.
So
well, hopefully we'll get it, and hopefully it'll happen.
yeah,
this
Jimmy
year.
and Dee, thumbs up, man. I think they're in the right direction, and I appreciate everything they've done.
They're not afraid to spend, that's for sure.
Yep.
John, thanks.
No
Thank
doubt.
you very
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Mike.
Awesome. That was Big Dawg John Thompson. Thanks for coming in, John. Be sure to check him out throughout the season
can't shut
as the
me up.
Browns get their 2024
That's all right.
campaign underway. Next week, we're going to move on to our next topic in a sec after a quick word from LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals
I
you
love how
can't
he
find
keeps it on.
anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate
See you, brother.
within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Boy, you sent me this topic the other day. I think it was Wednesday, and we decided to wait to do it with G on the panel because.
Well, Frank, I mean, what
Yeah,
I
you
said.
can set it up.
I saw this list where somebody on CBS made a list of,
ranked the teams in the AFC North at every position.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple. I said, "Ooh, we got to do this with G's on."
Did you know this guy, by the way? I didn't.
No, I've never heard of him.
I hadn't either.
But I
His
said,
name's
"Ooh,
Brian
G's going to get
Gaudreau.
pissed about
Yeah.
some of these things." So
I
I said,
hadn't
"We got to
heard
do
of
this." We were going to originally do this yesterday. I said, "G's not here tomorrow. We got to do
No,
this on Friday."
good call by you.
Because he's
Bring
going to
it
get
in,
riled up by the.
Bring
Have
it in
you
to get
seen it?
tricked. I haven't seen it.
No.
Bring it in and get
Some of these are really going to rile him up. So I was like, "We got to save it for Friday."
triggering list.
Yeah, we're gonna go position by position. We'll probably save the Guardians just for the TV show because this is gonna take 20 minutes at minimum.
Yeah.
So let's start. This is just Brian Diardo's rankings. He went position by position. This is from CBS Sports. He ranked the 4 quarterbacks in the division: Burrow 1, Jackson 2, Wilson 3, Watson 4.
And it begins.
Gee, go. Now, in fairness,
I mean, Russ.
they've all been to a Super Bowl with the
Yeah.
exception of Jackson. Russell's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Nobody.
But that was a long time ago.
Nobody.
It is a long time ago.
Russell Wilson just eked out a job by beating Justin Fields. And there's no disrespect. Russell Wilson has had a great career. If you say whose career has been better, obviously at this point people will say Russell Wilson's career has been better. But that's not the task at hand.
Now, didn't the Broncos beat the Browns last year when
Yep.
Deshaun was playing with
Nope.
a much better roster?
Nope, that DTR.
Or was that DTR?
That was DTR.
Okay, I couldn't remember who had played in that game.
Now, look, no one. If you ask Browns fans right now, who you want, Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson?
I would take
I'm
Deshaun Watson.
absolutely still taking
that-
Deshaun Watson.
I
because
think even the
he's
Deshaun-
got good football ahead of him. What does
That-
Russell have left in
that's
there?
Russell's on the decline, clearly.
I don't understand how you could justify that, but listen, this ain't that.
It's not that egregious?
No, because I already know what the climate is on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah, I mean,
He's not going to be on the top of anybody's
Anybody's
list.
list.
Also, you could make, obviously, you could make a good argument. Lamar's coming off an MVP season, and Burrow was hurt last year.
yes.
Now, if I'm starting a team, maybe I'm biased. I do really like Lamar Jackson. I would take Burrow over Lamar Jackson.
I would
not
too,
by
but not by much.
But I think coming off last year, it's fair to put Lamar number
Oh,
one.
he can't. And he's.
I mean, he's the
That won the
MVP.
MVP.
He
He
can't even be the best quarterback in his own division.
That's wild. That's wild work. You can't
Yeah.
have 2 MVPs and be the second worst. No. And plus, Burrow was hurt all last year. Not
Right.
saying that, but you are correct. If you ask somebody like, "Yo, who do you believe is going to be like the best quarterback moving forward for your team?" There's a lot of people that would take Joe Burrow, right?
I think so, but I think you're splitting hairs.
It's close.
Mad
I
close.
think the one big difference for me is that Joe Burrow is Joe Cool in those moments. And if you summate Lamar's career, you can't write the first paragraph of his career without saying he has wildly underperformed in the biggest games.
If you look at performance of quarterbacks in the regular season versus the playoffs,
Yes.
there's no bigger drop-off than Lamar Jackson.
And I
Not
bet
even close.
as good as Joe has been in the regular season, I bet he's been better in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's
in my mind, he's been really,
Yeah,
really good in playoff
that's it.
games.
And even the other quarterbacks who were criticized for the playoffs, Josh Allen and Dak Prescott, a lot of their losses have not been their fault.
No.
Where
Yeah,
Lamar
when the
has
defense
never
gives up
really played
35
well in the
points.
playoffs.
No.
I think Lamar will eventually play well in the playoffs.
He had moments
but,
last year.
But he hasn't to this point.
Right, but
Yeah.
last year he had some moments.
Yeah.
But still, he
He's
had
a top
home
5
games all the way to the
quarterback,
Super Bowl and couldn't
Yeah.
close the deal.
That's true.
Burrow's, I'm looking at him right now. His playoff numbers are pretty good.
Yeah.
His playoff numbers, in my mind, are very good.
They're not. He's got 9 touchdowns in 7 games, but he only has
Okay.
4 picks, and he throws for close to 300 yards a game. So he's
But-
been good.
That's pretty
But-
damn good.
But for this
You're gonna
exercise,
win most playoff games with
if
numbers
you
like
talk
that.
about right now, you can't put Burrow ahead of Lamar Jackson at this point. Like, you just can't. Like,
It's interesting. If it was one game, for me, it's Lamar. If it's one season, it's also Lamar. But if it's this point in their careers and you're drafting the quarterback,
moving forward.
I'm going with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I would do
now,
that
they
too.
both had injury
Yeah.
problems.
No, they've been prone to
You know,
injury. You're
Burrow's
right.
game, you would think he could perform at that level longer because of his style, but he's had a lot of injuries.
Wouldn't you say,
And so
though,
has
that his
Jackson.
injuries have been fluky?
Yeah, they've been very fluky.
I mean, where Lamar, when a quarterback runs as
Yeah.
much as Lamar runs, that comes with the territory.
Especially he's not huge like Josh Allen.
not.
Now, I think he does a relatively good job of not taking the big
Man,
hits.
it's like it's like catching a greased pig.
Yeah.
Nobody gets a full
Yeah,
shot on
he's
Lamar
good at
Jackson,
that.
and it's so frustrating when
Yeah.
you're playing him.
Right.
As a fan watching, it's like nobody. You got to make him pay for those. When he leaves the pocket, okay, if he gets 15 yards, you got to drill him into the dirt.
And it almost never happens.
He knows when to slide. He turns the right way. Guys are sliding off of him all the time.
Can't get him.
Maddening.
All right, next. Mike,
Quarterback's worth 5 minutes. Can't spend 5 on all of these, or we will not get through. Running backs now. This is running back tandems, rooms, whatever. This is exactly how it was listed by Brian DiArdo on CBS. He had Najee Harris and Jalen Warren as their best backfield. Chubb and Ford is the second. Derrick Henry was the only running back listed for the Ravens in third. And then Chase Brown and Zach Moss fourth for the Bengals.
There's no, with Chubb coming off injury and Henry getting old, there's no spectacular running back in this division.
There's not. But let's say this. Derek is getting old, but Derek had a great year last year.
He did, and I think he's got one more big year
I
in him.
believe he does,
especially
too.
with the Ravens.
He's different,
I'd probably have him first.
This guy's
Personally.
different.
What this?
I think I would too, Bull.
Yeah, I would have it personally. Henry, then Harris Warren, then Chubb Ford, and then Brown Moss.
That's exactly how I would have it.
Bro, you can't. Why you got Derrick Henry at 3?
Yeah, that make
come
sense.
on, bro. What are you doing?
It does seem upside down.
Is he who? Never mind. Who is he? Who is this guy?
See, I didn't know him either.
Some random dude who writes for CBS Sports.
He must be. But you know what? It goes to show you, when you put out a list, people talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I just didn't know who this guy was.
Yeah.
Steve Becker texted us and said Brian DiArdo went to Ohio State, is based in Columbus, and used to cover the Steelers for 247.
I could see he covered the Steelers for 24/7.
It's fishy.
I see it.
Used to.
Let's see if he stays fishy here. Let's go.
Let's go to
let
the
me-
receiver room rankings.
Stays fishy.
According to Brian DiArdo, he has the Bengals with Chase and Higgins as the top receiving room.
Oh, here he gives the
Judy
Browns some
Moore,
love.
The Browns at second, the Ravens with Flowers and Bateman at third, and then Pickens Jefferson for the Steelers in fourth. Any argument with this list?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't.
Steelers is higher than Flowers and Bateman.
that's close. I don't know. I mean, is Pickens better than Flowers?
I think so.
I do.
I would.
I think you're splitting hairs.
You know
in
what?
the 3 and
Looking
4.
at this just reminds me of just how ridiculously nuts this division is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that talent.
Yeah.
I mean, Flowers is. I think he's
I think he's really good.
1 or 2 on my list of best young receivers that hasn't quite completely blossomed and gone nuts
Right.
yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that this season.
Same with Pickens.
Same with
I like
Pickens.
Pickens.
That's a good
flip.
group of
You
receivers.
could flip 3 and 4.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but
yeah.
one
Are you comfortable with Cooper, Judy, Moore being 2 over even those 3 and 4? that are close?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think there's a big gap between one and everybody else. I think everybody else are really close.
Yeah, but the difference is that Cooper. Now, you'd rather for the future, you'd rather have Pickens or Flowers than Cooper.
Yes.
But right now, Cooper is way more accomplished than those two guys.
Are you concerned with the Chase drama as a Bengals guy?
I'm not.
You're
I'm
not?
not. No. Because he'll play week 1 and.
Shit, I was hoping that you hated that.
I was too.
I'm cheering it on.
Yeah.
I love the drama.
Sure.
I
will
love the
say.
poverty.
Yeah.
That
this-
poverty franchise. It
that-
gives us content. All right,
man,
tight
I'm
ends.
not kidding.
Tight ends. We have Mark Andrews first, David Njoku second, Pat Fryermuth third, and the Bengals with Mike Gesicki
I
fourth.
see how you make any argument.
I'm
there.
okay with that.
Yeah, that's.
I think he
okay.
got that one right.
I don't think there's any argument to move any of them.
Perfect. We'll skip
Yeah.
that one. Move to the offensive line where they had the Browns ranked as the top offensive line. Bengals at 2, Steelers 3, and Ravens 4. Here.
That's fascinating because obviously the Bengals have had a bad offensive
wouldn't have
line.
put
Yeah,
that-
I'm surprised the Bengals are 2.
Well, I actually.
But the Steelers have been bad too.
The Steelers have been bad. The Ravens lost 2, I think,
know they
starters
did.
on the
They
offensive
did.
line.
Yeah.
That's
and,
correct.
And the Bengals drafted a kid in the first round, and they've been bad at drafting offensive linemen. But this kid, usually you could tell already by training camp that they blew it, but this kid has looked great.
Oh, good.
And they also signed Trent Brown from the Patriots.
They did.
So I think it's the best offensive line they've had. I think it's the Browns when they're healthy. Big drop to the Bengals. The other 3 are all, I think they're all 3, like, okay.
For our purposes,
Yeah.
rooting for the Browns,
Yeah.
this is the graphic that, the quarterback and the wide receiver graphics give me great concern. This graphic gives me great hope.
Yeah.
Because I still believe in the NFL, you win in the trenches. Offensive line and defensive line. And these 3 teams I think they're all below average. And I think the Browns are above average.
I think the Bengals will be average on the line this
you?
year. I think they'll be average. And I think the Steelers and Ravens are just below average.
Okay.
But the Browns, when healthy, are top 5. So that's a big difference, yes.
I think I mentioned this earlier on a show a couple weeks ago, like the 5 burning questions coming into the season. Among them for me is, what the hell's the offensive line? And not just because of all the whack-a-mole injuries that we've had and the rotating door at this position and that position and the uncertainty. But more than anything, it's the coach is gone.
Yeah, the coach is gone. Jack Conklin, I'm guessing at this point he's going to start at left tackle week 1.
Well, sure looks
so I'm
like
fascinated to see how he does there.
I am concerned because when you're a big dude and you don't practice and you don't play and you get back healthy, man, playing 30, 40 snaps is
a lot.
Like, these guys are.
You talking about Conklin? Or you talking about
both of them?
Jed?
Conklin and these guys ain't in football shape.
Yeah.
They haven't played in weeks. Like, so then you come out and you got.
They haven't played in nearly a year.
Conklin hasn't played in a full year.
And your first matchup is Micah Parsons?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Myles Garrett's going up against a rookie left tackle.
Yes,
Dallas.
I know
That's true.
It's
They've
a
got 2
mismatch.
rookies starting on their offense.
There could be 30 sacks in that game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fence rider question. There's something with sacks versus something
Oh, I
else.
think this next one is another one that's going to rile G up, right?
We're going to go to the defense after a word from FanDuel.
Oh.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel before, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got something a little different going on for you guys right now. Starting today through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. So this CBS ranking separated defensive tackles and defensive ends. So it's 2 separate groups. We're going to start with the defensive tackles. We'll get to defensive ends next. According to Brian DiArdo of CBS Sports, this is how he ranked the defensive tackle units heading into 2024. He had the Ravens first with Madubuike and Michael Pierce, the Steelers second with Cam Hayward and Larry Ogunjobi, the Browns third with Tomlinson and Harris, and the Bengals in last with B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins.
To be truthful, all 4 of these lines are good. I can't be mad. Madubuike got like 40 sacks or something stupid as a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I think Hayward has just been. I think Hayward is a. I think he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion.
I don't have any problem with this list.
Tomlinson, Harris, and Hill and Rankins ain't bad. Like
they're okay, but they're definitely last. I'm definitely putting them.
They're not trash or anything.
No, they're not trash, but
yeah, I'm cool with that.
So you were cool with the defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Let's see if
I
you're
don't think
cool
there's
with
any
the
argument
defensive
there.
ends.
No, yeah.
According to Brian DiArdo, the
this
best
one.
defensive end tandem
I knew this would be
is
controversial.
T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, followed by Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. The Ravens, Owe and Van Noy, and then Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard in last place.
How is it? First of all, how's Hendrickson
They
and
should be
Hubbard
last. That's
is
ridiculous.
last?
Yeah, they should be third.
Yeah, definitely.
They should be at least
and
third.
only because the first 2 are really good.
Really good.
Trey Hendrickson might be the most underrated pass rusher in the
He
league.
is. He
gets no credit, this guy. And Hubbard doesn't put up big sack numbers, but he's a great leader and he's really good against the run. And I personally think the Browns should be first, but I understand Highsmith is better than Smith at this point.
If you want to say, if I can see what you're going to say. If you want to say Watt and Garrett are a push, it's about preference of what you want. One's more of an outside linebacker type rush, or Myles Garrett. I can see where you say that, and then you could say, well, Zadarius Smith, which we thought he was going to be more productive than he was. He has good PFF grades, but we thought the sack total would be there. Yeah. Highsmith is a double-digit sack guy, so I could see why that you looked at it from a strategic standpoint of saying, okay, well, the difference between the two is between Smith and Highsmith. I like Highsmith. I'll put them first.
Yeah, if
Damn,
you
I
just
thought G
looked
was
at
going to get
numbers-
worked up on this one. I actually think the Browns should be first because I think statistically Watt and Garrett are kind of a wash. But I think if you go and ask offensive linemen around the league, they are more concerned about Myles Garrett than J.J. Watt.
Well,
I believe that.
That's what PFF.
Yes.
Remember when we had PFF on it? We said, "What? I mean, everybody loves Myles Garrett, but you want to marry him." And they said, "Well, just go talk to people that have to guard him."
Right.
And I think that's true. I agree with you. And by the way, I think by virtue of him winning NFL Defensive Player of the Year over Watt, I think the edge is very, very slight.
Oh yeah, sure.
But there's an edge, and I don't think. And I like Zadarius Smith a lot, but if you tell me right now you can have your pick of these players, I want Highsmith.
Agreed. I just think Myles Garrett is the best, and so ultimately I'd go with the best guy, but I get it. It could go either way. Then I think we agree the Bengals should be third and the Ravens fourth.
He hasn't watched the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't know.
Their pass rush scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And again, you talk about the quality of the AFC North. when you look at the quarterback still, the wide receiver still, and the
D-line.
the defensive
The pass
lineman
rushers.
still store there.
Yeah.
This talent is unbelievable.
It is. It's unreal. Top
We got
to
a
bottom.
bunch more to get to. We're gonna save the Kwan topic. We'll do that in the TV show.
Okay.
So we're gonna finish the show with this. We
Yeah.
still got a bunch left to get to. These are the linebackers. They just did one linebacker unit, not edge rushers versus defensive tackles. He had the Bengals first with Jermaine Pratt, and Logan Wilson. The Steelers second, taking Patrick Queen from the Ravens, pairing him up with Elandon Roberts. The Ravens third with Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson, and the Browns trio of Bush, JOK, and Hicks in last.
I don't agree with this.
I have, unfortunately, I have the Browns fourth.
Yeah.
I
I actually don't think there's a huge gap between any of the four. I think it's all pretty close. I like Wilson and Pratt. I'm surprised they're one. Neither one had a great year last year.
would you have Queen Roberts over them?
The year before,
Yeah.
I would have put them at
right?
one.
Yes.
2 years
Not-
ago, they were played at an elite level. The problem with the Browns is, JOK had a great year. We don't know. Like Hicks is getting old,
Yeah.
so we don't. And Bush, I don't know what he is at this point. I would probably have Queen and Roberts one. Yeah.
And then you got now they got Roquan Smith. That's
Yeah,
Roquan
right.
Smith, but Simpson, he's not.
Unproven.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you get
Be
that?
nice, but
Like,
we've got some unproven in there too.
Hicks is.
I mean, if you don't have the Browns fourth, who are you putting fourth?
Well,
I mean, that's tough.
yeah. I can make an argument that the Bengals should be fourth. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let me ask
Yeah.
this real quick.
Yeah.
Would you say the Bengals, if you were just one linebacker, not groups, one linebacker, do the Bengals have 4 and 5 on this list?
Yes.
And so that
Yes,
by
they do.
conglomerate puts them at
It
one?
might even be 3 and 5 because JOK was better than Logan Wilson last year, but Logan Wilson's been better in their careers so far. But JOK was better last year. So if you're just going by last year, yes, I'd put him 4 and 5. You could argue 3 and 5, but I don't know. It's tough with the linebackers. I think all four are pretty close. If what's his name? Oh my, I just forgot. Hicks.
Pratt.
If Hicks still has like
Something left.
high level play in his, if that's still there, then the Browns are going to be pretty good at linebacker.
Yeah, but do you expect it to be there? Because I don't.
I expect him to be competent.
I do too.
Not high level.
I do too. I
Yeah.
expect him to be competent
Yeah.
and not a glaring weakness.
Right.
But I don't expect him to be a guy that's going to take over and change a game. And
Yeah.
I think Smith is a guy that can change a game. I think Queen is a guy that can change
Yeah.
a game. And let's face it, I think JOK is
Yes.
becoming a guy
Yeah.
that can change a game.
I think JOK is going to explode.
I agree.
JOK will be a household name.
Yeah.
They'll say, hey, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they got Myles Garrett, but that JOK
Yeah.
boy, he's flying all over the field.
Man.
And Hicks, is a guy who could, is going to have the green dot. He's going to have a leadership role.
That's they get him every year. That's the Anthony Walker.
Yeah.
And what's the other dude they had before him, 93? What was his
you
name?
call him Jag.
He's
He's better, though, than Anthony Walker.
Those are the dudes. Those are the league of extraordinary undesirables.
Yeah.
Well, that's the history of this Browns regime is they've undervalued linebackers.
Like they're just like, yeah, we
They just think they're pretty much interchangeable.
we want a men's warehouse guy in there.
Yeah.
Men's warehouse.
I think Hicks has been better than that in his career. Whether he
Gee,
still
that's
is, who
funny
knows?
because it's so true.
We got 3 more, and there's one I really want to
Men's
get to.
warehouse.
So
Go ahead,
let's make
Mike.
sure we get these in. Cornerbacks, they have the
looks
Browns
okay.
at 1 with Ward, Newsome, and Emerson. Just couldn't fit MJ's name on the graphic. Sorry, Earl. They had the Ravens at 2, Humphrey and Stevens. The Steelers at 3, Joey Porter Jr. and Dante
No
Jackson.
argument
The
for me.
Bengals at 4. with
No
Cam
argument,
Taylor-Britt
but
and Dax
again,
Hill.
it's easy to see why this division's
yeah,
the best
yeah,
in
yeah.
football. Like those are
Yeah.
some names on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no argument.
No, I
Let's
think
go
they
to safeties.
I think they got it right.
According to CBS, in terms of safeties,
could be
they had
bad
the
for
Ravens
us.
at 1 with Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. The Bengals second, Geno Stone and Von Bell. The Steelers third with Micah Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott. And the Browns in last, Delpit and Juan Thornhill.
I can't argue
I
with
got
that.
no argument.
No
there.
problems.
I can't argue with that.
And it was because it's Thornhill, bro. Like we didn't bring you here. What happened to that Kansas City playbook?
I know.
Yeah.
That happens to the Browns sometimes. Like you get a person and they get the free
Yeah.
agent deal, they done made it. You're like, I need that same pressure you had when
Yeah.
you didn't have that bag. Like,
Yeah.
The Ravens have an excellent safety combo. Minka Fitzpatrick's really good. Stone is a rookie last year for the Bengals. Was
Played
really good.
very well.
And bringing back Von Bell after he left for
Yep.
a year was huge for them.
no problem with that.
Yeah.
Hey, man, his list ain't completely trash.
Wait,
No,
we got
no,
one
no.
more, G.
No, I don't think it's
G,
bad
we
at
got
all.
one more.
Oh, there's one that's going to piss you off
Okay,
at the end, I
I
think.
spoke too fast.
This is the last one. These are the 4 head coaches in the AFC
Yeah,
North.
here we go.
Tomlin 1, Harbaugh 2, Zach Taylor 3. Kevin
Oh,
Stefanski
that
4.
is blasphemous. How in the hell is Zach Taylor ahead of a 2-time coach of the year?
Zach Taylor's won playoff games. Coach of
Zach
the year
Taylor he's their weakness. I look at the Bengals the way I've looked at the Chargers the last couple of years. Please give Taylor a 10-year extension.
I think I'm not a huge Zach Taylor fan.
What's the record? Stefanski's like undefeated against this clown.
Well, I mean, listen, you can't just judge it based on head-to-head records.
It has something to do with it.
But one guy
You're
is
matching wits with them.
One guy has won playoff games. One guy hasn't. That's
Would
what
you
it
like
is.
to-
Well, I mean, Stefanski's team won a playoff game. No, he wasn't on the
But he has
sidelines
one
for
win.
it, but he was there.
I know that, but Zach, listen, if you're asking me who's the better coach, I would take Kevin Stefanski. However, the argument is that Zach Taylor's won 5 playoff games and Kevin Stefanski's won 1.
Yeah, okay. Well, the guy is the reigning NFL Coach of the Year, and he's 4th best
Do
in
you
our
want me to
division.
read the criteria
Okay.
he said
Go,
he used for this?
go ahead.
This is
Clearly,
quote,
career record.
Go ahead.
This is word for word from the article on CBS from Brian Diardo. These are not my words. I'm reading this word for word. Quote, my criteria was simple when ranking the AFC North coaches. Super Bowls won, AFC titles won, divisions won, and playoff appearances. Based on that criteria,
Okay, so that's a
Tomlin
resume.
is number 1.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but I
but what are you judging it on?
if you're judging it on that, why make the list? Just say, look at the stat sheet.
Fair. All
I
right.
mean, I judge
But
it
what
on
do
a
you-
lot of things,
but-
Bull. I
yeah.
judge it on.
I don't think the coach of the year, I think that's.
I
Coach of the year goes to the most surprising team.
hate
Not the best coach.
I
How do you
hate that.
determine the best coach?
Well,
I hate
by
it.
what the Browns did last year. He got a team that had 5 starting quarterbacks
Yeah.
to the playoffs.
Right.
He held the ship together.
but
and
that
also,
doesn't. Yeah, coach of the year is so subjective. I
it
mean,
is.
you
Look,
know.
and I know
just
that
like MVP is.
oftentimes the coach of the year is out of a job in 3 years. That's happened
Right.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah.
look it up. But all of that being said, and I do agree with you, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, they came up from out of nowhere.
Right.
And how did you not give it to Stefanski last year? If you watched
Right.
and you saw that there were, I think G started one of the games at quarterback, and they went to the playoffs, so you got to
Yeah.
give it to him. But I'm just saying, the one thing that I would have to look at is head to head. I would just have to. And look, Stefanski has not done well against the Ravens.
Yeah.
He has owned the Bengals. For whatever reason,
has.
I think you can't even explain it.
There's no
The
explanation.
Bengals
for it.
have had the better team a number of times.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at the scores of those games, they weren't winning by a field goal. They kicked Cincinnati's ass a number of times.
I'm gonna keep it real, bro.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, his last how many years since 2018? He's 9-6, 8-8. They in 2020 they was 12-4 and got smoked by the Browns after they started 13-1. Then they were 9-7, 9-8, and 10-7. They ain't had nothing to write home about. Mike Tomlin.
And by the way, that's the Kevin Stefanski era.
That's during the same era. Like these dudes is living off Super Bowls. Ray Lewis was still playing back in the day.
They've
when
still
Harbaugh
won more games than the Browns have since Stefanski's been here.
Here's if they give out an award, I don't understand this. Like people is telling me, like if I go to an award ceremony at the end of the year, do you say, oh, well they've got merit roll, and I'm gonna say, merit roll, that's subjective. That's subjective. I'd much rather have the attendance award.
So where
nobody wants the attendance award.
Where would you put Stefanski on the list?
He has to, listen, I would put him, if we talking about right now,
Yeah.
he's over Tomlin. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can make a case for that.
What are you talking, like?
I would personally have him 2 in the division.
Yes.
So you go Harbaugh.
I would go Harbaugh,
Stefanski,
Tomlin, and Zach Taylor.
and
I
Taylor.
disagree
Actually,
that
I
Zach
wanna-
Taylor's
I
a bad
wanna agree with
coach.
that.
I think that's right.
By the way, I disagree that Zach Taylor's a bad coach, and I've been very critical of Zach
Yes,
Taylor.
you have.
I think he is improved, as a lot of guys do when given an opportunity.
Right.
I think he is now a mediocre coach.
Okay.
I think he was bad and a weakness when he first started. I think he's improved
So
as a
you've got
coach.
a mediocre coach
But
over the 2-time coach of the year.
Well, I wouldn't, but that's what he has.
Yeah.
I would have Zach Taylor.
And I'm going to put it to you like this.
Yeah.
And this is unprecedented. I'm going to come out and say it. If Kevin Stefanski gets the Cleveland Browns to the AFC Championship or to the Super Bowl,
then it changes.
and Deshaun Watson is good, he's the coach of the year again.
No, he's not going to win Coach of the Year again. But
He should.
The bottom line is that's the argument
Listen,
against.
if he gets the Browns to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
he may be coach of the
The
year.
argument against him is that he hasn't won when it's mattered, and that's
No,
that's
and
a fair
that is
argument.
fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
I will say this: there's a lot of stuff that happen. There's a lot of people that get diminished, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a cloud over the Cleveland Browns when it comes to Deshaun Watson. I think if there was if they had another quarterback or it wasn't their circumstances, people would be much higher on Stefanski, some of the other parts of the team.
I think people are plenty high on Stefanski. This is just one guy. Like you said, he won Coach of the Year.
He's fourth.
I know, but that's one guy's list.
That's Brian Diardo looking up the career win total.
Well, that's what he went by.
He probably,
Yeah.
that's probably where they sit in the career wins. But if you're going to make a list, put some personality to it. Don't
Yeah.
just use
Especially
career
after
wins,
the
and
rest
there they
of the
are.
whole article where he seemed
yes.
to use some.
He used logic
personal
in a
stuff,
lot
yeah.
of these other position groups. But with this, it just seems like he just said he looked up Wikipedia and he looked at the win list.
Well,
and
no, he said he went by championships and.
But it probably
AFC
also
title
is
games.
the number of total wins that each coach has.
I'm not
Probably.
sure. I'll look into that. We got one super chat before we head over to WKYC, which you guys can always watch on the WKYC Plus app if you're not in the greater Cleveland area. Betsy Gardner says, we should thank our lucky stars. We Browns fans were blessed with Jim Donovan.
Amen.
I think he should be installed into the Ring of Honor immediately. Do you guys agree?
I agree he belongs in the Ring of Honor. Yes.
Absolutely.
Without question.
Do they have a broadcaster's wing of the? I know they do for baseball, but I don't know if they do for football.
It's a good question,
I'm not
Bull.
sure.
I don't know, but I
Yeah.
think they do because I think they do.
Because he should
If they
go
don't, they
into
should.
the Football Hall of
'Cause
Fame
I think Pat
as a
Summerall
broadcaster.
is in.
Yeah, John Madden, you think
Yeah.
would be in there?
Yeah, every team thinks that they've got the best local guy.
Yeah.
They do.
We do.
But
Or we did.
We know we did.
I listened to a lot of football on the radio, and Jimmy is as good as it gets. I mean,
Yes.
there's other good guys out there, but
There
there
are.
are plenty of bad ones too,
But
or
Jim,
mediocre ones.
Jim called games for years at the network level. He called games for NBC in the late 80s and I think into the 90s.
And look at all the suffering he had to do with calling games for this
and
team.
every year he comes back with the highest of hopes.
Yep.
And maybe they'll get there this year, and he'll be able to see it. We're done on the YouTube show. WKYC, bottom of the hour, 12:30. We'll see you there.
Peace.